Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. This is the second half of a Take My Town featuring Scandinavia and Eastern Bloc. I'm playing as Scandinavia while my friend Vimes is playing as Eastern Bloc, and this time Scandinavia is on the defensive in Zone Hotel. So I do have some pretty thorough defenses set up. We have an SGRV 103D and an LKV 90 in the back just hanging out. We also have pretty in-depth town defense, so some recon infantry, storm engineer, and some specialist infantry as well, 2 single ATGM teams, an AA weapons team, and some nice heavy-duty infantry fighting vehicles, an STRF, and a couple of PBV 302As. In the Eastern Woods, I really couldn't decide what I wanted to do for this. It seemed like a bit of a trap. It seemed like it was just going to get bowled through by the enemy advance. So most of the units in here are cheap TGB 13s as well as NM113s, so 5-point APCs and IFVs in that regard. We also have some recon infantry just to try and get some vision in case there's a big push across this way, as well as NM135s in the back end to give some sort of autocannon fire, and storm engineer that are supposed to be, Erix's are very nice, excellent range, 1050 meter range, 60% accuracy, and 25 AP, so that hopefully while all of these LHV militiamen are, providing additional time, shall we say, maybe the storm engineer are able to get a couple good kills. So I have something around 550 points on the defensive, and we have roughly 850 or so on the attack. We have tried to even out the score a little bit, so 840 points, 850 points, just to make it so that you guys can keep track of things a little bit through that destruction mode score method, I guess. But we didn't restart the game from the last one. So yesterday's Take My Town was done in this same session, although quite a bit before. We were just chatting, getting things set up, and now we do start to see the Red 4 advance, so Vimes moving through with some O64Cs. We also have eyes on a Dyna 1 and a Flampanzer, of all things, so, hey, that's one way to get tanks to do stuff in towns, and now we have guns opening up from the Eastern Woods here against the TGB 13, and that's, 5 points down already. Sneska also moving up, and I'm feeling a little bit nervous about this forward position, so I'm moving to NM113 forward just to draw some fire, hopefully waste some ATGMs, just sort of be a bit of a tripwire unit in that regard. Now we have a Dyna 1 opening up, and down goes an NM113 pretty much immediately, and I'm definitely feeling like this Eastern Woods was a bit of a trap. We have, meanwhile, Pechota opening up, Wildcats and NM113s trying to hold their ground here to get a little bit of damage on the Pechota. ATGM, unfortunately, from that Dyna 1, and, Vimes is very good with those. Lots of Archons scoring hits and scoring kills between yesterday and today. So NM113s also just trying to waste more of those Archons over and over and over again, and just sort of dancing back and forth here. And if they die, it doesn't bother me that much. I really don't care. Sort of is what it is, and I'd rather have those units take those ATGMs than my STRV 103D, because this is 90 points of I want it to actually pull its weight. Of course, the other day they did not, so we'll have to see if they have a redemption arc this time around. Flampanzer and the Dyna just bowling through, and the attackers have gotten unanswered for a first pretty high number of kills. Of course, that is the same thing that happened yesterday as I bowled into Foxtrot and got some very nice fire against the infantry that were guarding that town, but we'll have to see if it lasts. Unfortunately, an NM135 going down, as somehow they have vision on it, so I'm trying to move this thing away from the edge of those woods. Now we do have our first ATGM team opening up, Dyna reacting to it very quickly, and 9 points of damage, 1 point of strength left, and he did retreat out of range, so I possibly should have given him a bit more time. Of course, Swedish ATGM teams have 2275 meter range. If it was any other nation with, Conquer's M teams 2600, we would have been shooting at this advance for quite a while, but that has at least made Vimes a little bit cagey. Let's speed things up just a little bit as the main attack does commence here momentarily, and as soon as it does, I promise you it is a bit of a doozy. Of course, if it wasn't, it wouldn't be entertaining enough to be up here anyway, but that's a different story. Resupply vehicle coming in and fixing the Dyna. I was incensed by this at the time. I was just like, no. Oh, come on, really? Really? Of course, I do have my own resupply vehicle back here as well. Fighting Falcon coming in, but I changed the bombing target the last second, and he wasn't able to drop because he was stunned. So unfortunately that bomber coming in and just going back out, but luckily surviving. And, you know, it would have been really nice if I had dropped on this target. We would have been able to take out some infantry fighting vehicles, a lot of infantry as well. So Foskelmjäger opening up the Carl Gustav M2. Flampanzer spotted over this way, SPW-80s charging through, and this Eastern Woods is going from bad to worse. Really quickly, and Eastern Bloc seems unstoppable. So LHV opening up, and I mean, hey, it's a cheap M72 Law. I mean, what, 13 AP power is pathetic. Flampanzer opening up, and oof, those LHV have seen better days. But, you know, I mean, they scored some small manner of hits, and M135 also putting the autocannon to good use. Storm Engineer opening up, and I really wanted them to target the Flampanzer, but they weren't quite able to do it there. And yep, there it is. We get the kill, 35 points, but the napalm's already in the air. Oh, and the Storm Engineer go from 10 strength to 5 to 4, panicked and stunned, SPW-80 opening up, and these guys that I thought would be able to just mulch enemy infantry fighting vehicles and, you know, put up a decent block against infantry as well, got roasted by a vehicle that they'd already killed. It was tragic, it was despicable, it was everything like that. Of course, we do have the towns opening up now, so ATGMs going in, taking out those SPW-80s, and I mean, that is good use right there as well. So motorized vehicles, of course, are disproportionately expensive because wheels and speed have their own value, and we are able to get a couple of those down, but Lutzeschützen take that Eastern Woods. Red 4 has pretty much taken that whole side, and there's not much I can do about it at this point. So we can get a little bit of revenge. I mean, cheap Topaz vehicles are not a lot of catharsis there, but STRV now coming around and opening up, and you can see just the hurt that these Swedish infantry fighting vehicles and Swedish tanks are able to do. So that entire group of vehicles crushed pretty quickly, and the FJB in the open are going to have a rough time. ATGM teams opening up as well, and I think my opponent had tried to just come through here and continue the advance, but that was something like 110, 115 points worth of kills. Another 30 there as more expensive pieces go down. The FJB have seen better days, and this is the nice thing about that STRV. It has a 15 rounds per minute rate of fire, so in the open they can really provide some pretty nice defensive tools. Unfortunately, my ATGM team trying to retreat through a different town does get caught out in the open, and we have artillery coming in trying to stun this town, but it's really too widespread. So I mean, a couple of stuns in the LKV, but a lot of infantry still dying in the woods. PVVs opening up against Lutzeschützen, and Storm Engineer now showing their worth here in a defensive situation. So pretty nice in that regard. We have also the resupply truck trying to move up as I had run out of ATGMs on that RBS 56. I really wanted that Dyna killed yesterday, so trying to get some sort of resupply going. STRV in the back, sheltered from the Dyna 1's Archon ATGMs, and able to open fire still at Lutzeschützen, has used most of his ammunition, so 12 rounds remaining and decreasing really quickly. Look at that. Aim, shoot, and repeat. Flampanzer opening up, and this had me panicked once more. My Storm Engineer do die to that fire at position, probably, from my opponent. So at this point I was really unhappy about it, and look, even more napalm coming in. Excellent use of that by the Red 4 player. Of course, it isn't going to be enough to handle that STRV on its own, but, you know, if he can get his own infantry into these towns, that will be a problem, and I don't really have all that much left here, as my Fighting Falcon is still being patched up, and that was a pretty expensive buy. It was maybe, what was that, like 120, 140 points, I think, but he really needed. So my one criticism, I guess, of the Red 4 advance is that they should have either been moving for the town or hiding in the woods instead of just sitting there and getting pounded by that STRV. So down to a single shot left, and I've used all of my ammunition, scoring one more 20-point kill there at the very end. So unfortunately, my resupply truck is completely out of resupply. We have refilled 3 out of 8 of those ATGMs from the RBS 56, and pretty soon he should be turning around, and in comes the Fighting Falcon. It is healed, and of course, since the fight has commenced, as long as it is commencing, the Fighting Falcon can keep resupplying and dropping those bombs. So now my opponent is on a bit of a timer. As the attacker, he does have to wipe out my troops, and I can sit here for as long as he would like to have that get done. We of course do take out those Pechota, and that's, you know, it's just 30 points, but it does help the survivability in this town just a little bit. Meanwhile, the RBS 56 trying to get into a good position to open fire here, and if I can get a shot off, but I can't quite. This was the wrong city block. I'm trying to get them to move over into the other one. LHV, of course, trying to take out those Przemyski, because the RBS do not want to be shooting those. But ATGM on the way, down goes the Flame Tank, and that was really satisfying. Let's see what else, if anything, we can get as the Przemyski are trying to get out of the way. Shot coming in, and he's going for that tank, swing and a miss. Single missile left on the RBS 56. Let's see what they can do. Fallskärmjäger also helping against the Przemyski. Down they go. One more shot going in, and we do get the Snezka. So at this point, most of my opponent's tools have been pretty much taken care of. We're going to fast forward here a little bit as the attack is not quite over, but this is going to be, this is going to be a tough nut to crack. So we have the LVKV-90, and it's an anti-air piece, but direct fire can still put a fair bit of hurt on people with just the sheer rate of fire off of that main gun. We also have, none of this was in the bid, so just ignore it for now, but the resupply vehicle quickly resupplying at my fob, which is going to be back into hotel relatively soon, so let's just keep going. I'm not sure what my opponent was waiting for. He might have sent his own resupply vehicle back and was trying to heal up a couple of units before charging forward again. But that sort of works. Oh, this is what he was waiting for. So artillery coming in once more, and you can see, a little bit of scattered damage, maybe, but everyone's still calm. The dispersion on that piece is way too much for it to be any real use. And now we have the resupply vehicle back. STRV is back up at nearly half ammunition, so we do slide out of yellow back into green there. 15, 16, and counting shells in that STRV. Also, eyes on the Dyna 1, so I didn't have any more ATGMs for the RBS 56. I really should have brought another supply truck for such a supply-intensive position and, I guess, game design, but I'm moving that resupply vehicle forward, trying to get some ammunition back for the RBS as Fighting Falcon comes in again, and this was devastating, sort of the bombs that broke the camel's back, as it were. Well, I guess not. So the Pechota were mostly fine, the Litzschützen were mostly fine, but they can't stand up to that direct fire again from the STRV. Dyna moving into support, but he did take a pounding from that Fighting Falcon, so only 2 pips of strength left, and he's panicked, which means that primary and tertiary gun are going to be having a hard time landing their shots, and this is the last push for Eastern Bloc. Very strong start to that Take My Town, and just a couple of unfortunate plays and a couple of unfortunate, I guess, bombing runs and other things like that really spoiled the tempo of that assault. So STRV is moving around, a single shot at the Dyna and not a hit. ATGM coming in, not a hit either, as the Dyna is taken out by that Swedish STRV. Pretty nice revenge for yesterday's game, and as these Litzschützen go down to Fallskärmjäger, that is going to be all we've got for today. So, as always, thank you guys for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.